Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while since we've talked, but this is something I like to call Coach's Corner, and it's basically where I like to share as much as free information as possible to help people get into their fitness journey and not feel so lost. New Year is rolling around right now. I do want to talk about what it would be like to build your own program, or what that even is, a split, what volume is, what sets are, what reps are, and everything in between. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to be a new-ish intermediate person in the gym. You've maybe been there, but you've never been consistent, but you really hope that when January comes around, hit the ground running and never look back. I'm going to start off in the beginning on how you would decide what you're going to do when you get to the gym. So I think the first step would be picking your split. So how many days you're going to be going to the gym and how you're going to split up your muscle groups when you go to the gym. And I always say that the best program to put yourself on is the one you can actually maintain. Do not put yourself on a 5-day program if you can barely hit 3. And if you're going to the gym 0 days a week, going from 0 to 5 is a big change. So baby steps are the best things. And I've always found it with my clients that they feel more motivated in the gym when they start slow. Let's just say they start off at a 3-day split. They realize that they can do another day or even add 2 more days. It motivates them more to know that they can handle more versus them starting off really, really strong and them feeling discouraged that they can't handle it and having to pull back. You can always build your way up. You can pick a split, but there's no way that you have to stick to that for the rest of your life. It can change every month if you wanted to. The most important thing are the movements that stay consistent and that you can progressively overload them. Let's just say you decided to do a 3-day split, and on the 3-day split, you're doing 3 days a week and you're doing a full body session every single time you go. And a full body just means that you're doing a little bit of each muscle group every time you go to the gym. And I always love to start my clients off on this split. If I'm being honest, I myself have been on this split for, I would say, going on 4 years. Reason being why I love the 3-day split is just because you can hit your muscle groups every time you go to the gym versus only hitting them. Like if you're doing your back muscles, usually people do back 1 day a week. But when I do my full body sessions, I'm able to do it 3 times a week and get some volume in every single time I go to the gym. And that's just really beneficial for people who are just starting off in the gym. They aren't going to feel so beat up because they're not going to go and hammer a full muscle group that they haven't trained in months, maybe even years. So the ability to go into the gym and just do a little bit of volume spread out between 3 days with rest periods also in between is just super beneficial. And it's also very schedule friendly. You know, if you are still trying to learn how to even integrate the gym into your schedule, into work, or let's just say kids, or studying, school, 3 days a week just allows you to be able to miss days during the week or because of unpredictable changes, and you still have a lot of extra days in the week to work with. You know, if you were to miss Monday, Tuesday, you still have Wednesday through Sunday to get the rest of your days in, and you still would have rest days in between. So that is my favorite split, and I just think it's the best one to start off with. You won't feel so beat up. You have a lot of recovery in between, and it won't be so mentally exhausting knowing that every single day you have to go to the gym, especially if you just started. When you're going to the gym, regardless, you want to just make sure that you're getting in at least 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week hypertrophy. And hypertrophy just means when you're starting to feel or see some definition in your muscles and you're starting to see some toning, that is hypertrophy, just seeing muscle development. Basically breaking down volume. It might be a little complicated, but through time, you'll understand more after I explain also what sets and reps are. Sets are basically how many rounds you're doing of an exercise. So let's just say we're doing squats, a goblet squat. In that set, I will be doing a certain number of reps, and reps or repetitions just mean how many times am I going to do it in that round. So if I'm doing 3 sets and I'm doing 10 reps, 1 round would be done if I did 10 squats, and then I would rest and do another 10, rest and do another 10. And another way you could think about it is at the end of this, I have to do 30 reps total, and I just have to break them up between 10 increments. I did write up some sample workouts that I can show on here, but I did want to talk about something before we go into the workout, because it's going to be easier to understand why I'm programming it this way compared to things you might be seeing on the internet. And it might be confusing because we do live in a day and age where there's just so much fitness information out there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it could just mean that people are going to be doing things that might just be too advanced for them, or might not even have time to complete a workout that they saw on the internet. The thing I've just been seeing a trend a lot of is training till failure. And it's not that training till failure is bad. I do it myself and I have it programmed in these workouts as well. It is very beneficial. It gets you feeling very, very accomplished. It gives you a nice pump. It's all beneficial. I do see a lot of, and I know it can be confusing, is that a lot of people are doing 4 sets of every exercise or 4 sets till failure of every exercise. And they'll be doing a workout with 6 exercises in it, or 6 or maybe even 7 exercises. People think that this is the level of intensity they have to get to in order to get results, but it's actually counterintuitive to push your body to those limits if, one, it's not ready for it, and 2, it can't recover from it. And if you also don't have the correct form, if there's just a lot of things you want to do before you get to that level. Reason being why you don't need to do 4 sets of every exercise and why it's beneficial to think about even pulling back and doing 2 sets is because you might find yourself lifting less to be able to carry yourself through 4 sets of an exercise than if you were to be able to pull back and just do 2. So for example, let's just say I was doing Bulgarian split squats and I had programmed 4 sets of 10. I would go to the dumbbell rack thinking about what weight can I carry and do this exercise 4 sets of 10 reps. That's a lot of volume and it's a very taxing exercise. So I would probably go for a lighter weight. Let's just say 30 pounds. Let's just say in another scenario, I only had 2 sets of Bulgarians and maybe it was 2 sets of 8. So now I know I'm not having to take it till 10 reps. So I'm able to kind of pull back on the reps I'm doing. And then I'm also just doing 2 sets. So I might, instead of going for the 30s, I might grab the 45s because I can just put it all into those 2 sets. That necessarily you'll get more gains from one or the other because at the same time, doing 4 sets of an exercise and doing 2 sets of an exercise, you kind of will get the same output. There's a lot of factors into it because what did you do before your Bulgarian split squats? What are you going to do after your Bulgarian split squats? Something you don't want to do is just force your body to go through 4 sets of every single exercise. So now that we've kind of broken down how to know if it's too much volume or too little volume is by 1, calculating at the end, if you wrote your own program out, calculate how many sets you have, and 2, just basing it off how you feel when you're in the gym. If you are at the point where you are getting to your 3rd exercise and you are so beat, do not question if it's whether or not you are not strong enough to be able to handle an intense workout, or I'm so weak, I've lost all my progress, or oh my gosh, this is going to take me forever to get fit. Look at it more so. Your program is just not catered to where you are right now. This is the workout I have set for a full body day. So this would be 1 of 3 days you would do in the gym if you were on a 3-day split doing full body each time you would go. So I have starting off with back squats. It can be with the barbell. It can be with the Smith machine. It can be with a dumbbell in the front, doing a goblet squat if you want. But the sequence that I have written down is 2 options. So you can either do almost like a pyramid sequence where each set you're going down in weight. And I know that might be weird because most people start light and then they add weight on and then decrease their reps. But something I've actually found that I like to do is to do some warm-up sets and then start at a working set. And as I start high, I actually lower my weights as I go down, and I kind of call them back off sets where I kind of go and push for that strength PR. I might go for a 4 rep max, 5 rep max, or really push for a 6 rep max, and then I'll lower the weight and then really do like a mind muscle connection set where I do it slow and controlled, and I'll do it for higher reps, maybe like 10 to 12. First sequence I have 3 times 6, so 1 set doing 6 reps, 1 set doing 8 reps, and then the last set being a set of 10 reps. Or another option would be you can do 3 sets at 6, doing 6 reps. Let's just say you're doing 4 weeks of back squats. Week 1, you did 100 pounds, and those 6 reps felt impossible to do. So maybe week 2, you would go into trying to get those 100 pounds to feel more comfortable. You would want to just get 3 times 6 to feel comfortable, and then once it feels comfortable, you kind of go up on weight to kind of get it to be challenging again. After you do your 3 sets of 6, really pushing your strength limits, you would lower the weight and do 1 set of 10 for a back off set. Again, these would be a very slow and controlled set, really focusing on mind muscle connection, time under tension. And we would move into a shoulder press. So we would do something like 3 sets, 2 times 6, a strength rep, doing a weight that's really hard for 6 reps, and do lower the weight and do a set that's like 10 to 12 reps. Also beneficial to do things like that when you're on a full body split, because of the fact that you're not having an entire day for shoulders. So you really want to try to push your strength with those type of movements, but then also really focus on the time under tension with those movements. Now we're going to move into hip thrusts, and we have 3 sets. And you can already see that we're not doing 4 intense sets. We're not pushing till failure. We're not doing any type of movement where we can't track the progressive overload. And you can see that the sequence here, the reps are going lower each time. So that would mean that as the reps get lower, the weight gets higher. The first set you would do at 12. This would be our set where we're warming up for our last set. That's going to be 5 reps. And then we're going to up the weight a little bit and go for 8 reps. And then we're going to rest a little bit and go into our final set for 5 reps. We're going to really push our strength. We're going to train our glutes hard. We're going to go for a 5 rep max, pushing for a weight just to the point where we could not do any more than 5 reps. So then now we're going to move into dumbbell Romanian deadlifts, and we're going to do 2 sets. And you can break these 2 sets depending on how you feel, depending on how you like to train best, especially if dumbbell RDLs are lower on where I'm hitting, especially if they're not close to my main lifts, like they're kind of just an accessory lift. I really like to take my dumbbell RDLs a high rep, like I have it here. We have 2 sets of 15. That's how I like to train. You don't have to train that way. If you are someone who likes to really push those low rep, high intensity, heavy reps, 1 times 6, and get a dumbbell RDL 6 rep max if you wanted to, and then lower the weight and do a really slow and controlled 1 set at 15 reps. You just did heavy hip thrusts. So you can really just do a lighter weight for your RDLs and take it to a 15 rep burnout set. I love doing that because RDLs, especially if I've already ignited my glutes from the hip thrust, I know that on social media, I would already be seeing at this point that a person is saying 4 sets of 12 reps of RDLs. And that's just a lot when I know they already came from doing back squats till failure and then hip thrusts till failure and then doing 4. It's just a lot. We're going to go into a single arm row. So you saw that we hit a little bit of shoulders. Now we're going to hit a little bit of back on a 3-day a week program. So since the fact that we're not going to have an entire day catered to back, I have it as 4 sets for rows because we still want to get our volume in for the back. It's not about doing 4 sets of something being bad. It's about doing 4 sets of something, but you have to think about what you were doing before and what you have after. So you can see that we don't really have any more back movements in the rest of this workout. So it's okay to do 4 sets of this. But let's just say I was doing an entire back day and I'm already at my 5th exercise. There would be no reason for my 5th exercise to still be having 4 sets of failure, 4 sets of 12. We're just doing a single arm row, a simple 4 sets of 10. I have it here that you can do 4 sets of 10 to 12, just depending on how you like to train. You can do 2 sets at 8 and really do a heavy single arm row, pull back and do 2 sets with 12 reps. It really just depends on how you like to train. The biggest thing is making sure you have enough volume. To complement our single arm row, because when you're doing a single arm row, a supplement muscle is your bicep when you do that. So to really target our bicep, since again, we're on a 3-day split, we're not going to have an entire day to get those muscle groups. So taking a bicep curl to failure after doing a single arm row is so amazing because you get to really just concentrate on it. So you went from it being like a secondary muscle to it being a main muscle directly after, and taking it to failure here would be really beneficial just because you will not get bicep volume like this unless you're having a lot of biceps program in the other 2 days. Another muscle that is secondary in a shoulder press is your triceps. So you can do a tricep extension the same way you did your biceps, 2 sets till failure. And again, it's just to make sure you're getting enough volume from your triceps being a secondary muscle and giving it the attention it needs by doing a tricep extension. Accessory lift for your glutes could be a glute kickback on the cable machine, and you can just do 2 sets of 10. These are movements that require a lot of mind muscle connection anyways. Not a movement I would say go to a 20 rep failure for. I would just say pick a weight that 10 reps is challenging. So that would be what a workout would look like if you were on a full body split. It'd be one of the 3 workouts, but you can structure it to be similar to that day and just switch around the movements that you're doing. So hip thrust can be the first movement and put back squats as a secondary movement, or RDLs can become your main movement. You can just switch things around, and then you can also have certain movements become more of your accessory lift. This upper body day is kind of mixing in a push and pull day just for the sake of the example. You are on an upper lower split where let's just say you're on a 4-day a week and you're just doing upper lower rest, upper lower. One day should be focused on pushing. So you're pushing things away from you like a chest press, push-ups, shoulder press, tricep extensions. And then you would want the other upper body day to be more pull. So focusing on your back muscles and pulling things towards you. So that would be your pull-ups, your single arm cable rows, your bent over dumbbell rows, a T-bar row, a close grip row, a horizontal pull. Even your secondary muscle when you're doing pulls is your bicep curl. So you want to be doing your biceps. The reason why you just want to separate them is again to make sure that you're giving them the attention they deserve. Beneficial to split them up so they have time to recover in between, accentuate your hypertrophy. The first lift in the upper body is a bent over row. So again, that would be the lift that we're putting the most energy towards. And I have it here as 4 sets. So we can do it in 2 sequences. And I've kind of described the same sequences in the same thing in the full body day. 4 sets. And we can do something where we start light. And as the reps get lower, our weight gets higher. And start at doing 12 reps, really slow and controlled. This would be our warm-up set leading in to the heavy 6 reps. When we would get to the 6th rep, it would be nearly impossible to go for a 7th. Or you can do another thing where you go 3 sets of 8 and you can lower the weight, do 1 set of 12. Again, this would be your set where you're really focusing on time under tension and your mind muscle connection. Something that would complement doing a bent over row would be chin up. So that would be a supinated pull up. Those tend to be a little easier, especially if you're trying to get to pull up strength. I always recommend starting off with chin ups because it'll get you used to pulling up your body weight. Have it set for 3 sets and it says AMRAP. So it means as many reps as possible. Usually with chin-ups, I usually do not program a set number of reps. I cannot tell someone how many they can do. It's really up in the air based off fitness level. Just because I have it written here that it's 3 sets doesn't mean you're going to get the same number of reps each set as well. So when I'm doing my chin-ups, some sets I'll get 8, and then my second set I'll get 4, and then my last set I'll get 3. So as a coach, do not tell my clients how many reps they have to get. I just let them based off their fitness level, and then when they tell me how many reps they got, I tell them to, make sure you either match that the next week or you push for 1 more rep. The next movement we're going into is shoulder press. And again, same sequences. We have 3 sets and we have 2 sets doing 6 reps. So really pushing those strength PRs. And then we lower the weight and we do 1 set doing 10 to 12 reps. Next, I have push-ups. And again, we can actually move that up. The way I put it on here is that we can swap the push-ups in the shoulder press. So instead of shoulder press coming after chin-ups, we can move push-ups up. So it would be bent over row, chin-ups, then push-ups. Then we can do 3 sets of push-ups and then 2 sets of shoulder press, or vice versa. We can do 3 sets of shoulder press and 2 sets of push-ups. It really just depends on what you want to train, like focusing on your chest, because push-ups focus on chest more than shoulder presses do. I put more energy towards learning how to do push-ups instead of taxing yourself out a little bit with shoulder press. You can put more energy towards your push-ups and then complement it with the shoulder press. After that, we just did a bilateral, which means both sides. A bent over row uses both of our arms at the same time. And then our chin up also uses both arms at the same time. So something that would complement that is doing a single arm row. You really want to make sure you have something that complements one side of something. And go into your single arm pull down, but since we already did 2 bilateral rows, there's no reason to do 3 sets of it. So a single arm pull down, do the low weight, weight and really focus on just gaining strength, gaining hypertrophy. You want to go into a face pull. So that kind of works out your rear delts, which is the back of your shoulders. Those face pulls will really complement every side of your shoulder, but you don't have to make it redundant. You're already on your 6th exercise. You do not have to be doing 3 or 4 sets of this. Shoulder press, and we did push-ups. Secondary muscle would be triceps. Again, we already did 2 exercises using our triceps. In those 2 sets, really focus on the form. Make sure we're picking a weight that makes it burn, makes it feel like we're pushing till failure, but keeping it at 2 sets. Did some rows, so your secondary muscle would be bicep curls, but we already did a bent over row, a chin up, and a single arm pull. So those are 3 movements that already use the biceps, so there would be no reason to also do 3, 4 sets of it. And then that would be an upper body day. We're going to move into lower body. And another thing I see a lot on social media is these lower body workouts, on top of having a ton of volume, is that it has a ton of exercises and they're redundant. We'll go from a back squat to a leg press to a pendulum squat. And there's 3 movements already. Simply doing a bilateral squat. Yes, you feel it in your quads, that's great, but it's redundant. You do not need to do 3 bilateral squats in one workout. Only really have to do 1, but if you want to do 2 where you're taking your back squats that are kind of unstable and then you want to move to a machine like a Smith machine, a pendulum squat, to get a more stable bilateral squat, you can do that. You just did your barbell squats on one day and then put your Smith machine stable squats on another leg day where it's not your main lift, and you can just do 2 sets of it again till failure. This leg day, I only have 5 movements, and I have 1 movement per movement pattern. Movement patterns are squat, which is a squat, your lunge, which is lunge and split squats, Bulgarians, reverse lunges, curtsy lunges. You have your hip thrust, which is your bridge movement pattern, your hinge, which is your deadlifts, like your RDLs, your sumo deadlifts, conventional deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts. And then you want to do an abduction or I like to do some type of glute accessory. The thing you can add in is adduction, which is your inner thigh. It wouldn't hurt to add it in and make a 6th movement, but you just don't want to make sure you're adding movements onto your workout that again are redundant. And first movement, again, I'm just going to keep it simple. It's a back squat. You can do this on Smith machine. You can do this on a squat machine if your gym has it, or if you're a beginner and you want to just do a dumbbell goblet squat, you can do that as well. It's our main lift. We're really pushing and putting all our energy into this one. 4 sets, 3 sets being 6 reps. So we're pushing a weight that is hard for us to get to 6 reps. And then we're going to lower our weight for our last set. And we're going to do a set of 10 where we're really focusing on form, mind muscle connection. I've been repeating myself, but I think you guys are starting to get it, hopefully by now. And then the next movement will be a Bulgarian split squat. So we just did a bilateral squat using both our legs, but now we can do a unilateral squat and we focus on 1. And this is really beneficial because these type of movements that are unilateral help you in bilateral movements. So imbalances, one leg is stronger than the other, then really focusing on strengthening one side will really help you when you do your bilateral squat, and you won't have one leg doing more than the other. I didn't put 4 sets of Bulgarians because we just did a squat pattern, and if we're just focusing on strengthening one side, we don't need to do that for 4 sets. 2 set Bulgarian split squats. We have 1 set doing it for 6 reps. Again, heavy PR. We're 6 rep max on one side, but then we're going to lower the rep and go for a 12 rep failure. On social media, with these movements, you'll see people saying, oh, do 4 sets of 12 rep failures. Sometimes they don't even say a specific rep failure. They say just take it till failure. That's going to be hard to progressively overload because when you go to the gym the next week, you don't know how many reps you have to beat. You could have done 12 reps, you could have done 15 reps, you could have done 20 reps, and then this week you're going to go in and you're not going to know how many reps you have to do to progress from last week. We're going to move into hip thrusts. We have 3 sets of this, and you can see the pyramid sequence. First set would be, again, our warm-up set to lead up into our 5 rep max, but a dumbbell RDL. We just worked out our glutes and hamstrings with the back squats, the Bulgarians, the hip thrust. There's no reason to also take your hamstrings through 4 sets of dumbbell RDL. 2 sets, we have 1 set of 8 and get that 15 rep RDL. Or you can just do 2 sets of 15 and get 2 really good burnout hamstring sets. I've done already 1, 2, 3 main lifts of going to the heavier side, and then just lower the weight for the last 2 exercises and just really focus on mind muscle connection. I have it after that to really complement the glutes and call it a day. You can even make this a cable glute medius kickback, abduction and glutes at the same time. But if you just want to focus on one, you can just do a cable kickback. You do not need to do 4 sets of cable kickbacks. We have 2 sets of 12. Again, we want this weight to be a challenging weight. And again, you can add an abduction on. That is the end of my video, and I really hope that this reaches who it needs to. As a coach, people come to me and they really dissect what they know already about lifting, the gym, nutrition, and sometimes I just get so surprised about what assumptions people have of the gym or the knowledge that they have of the gym, because it makes me excited to be able to tell them that things that they have been doing that make them exhausted with the gym have actually not been needing to be done. And it's kind of like taking a load off their plate, or making that their journey towards fitness will be a little easier, won't have to be the same dreaded experience that they've had previously. In the beginning of my fitness journey, I started in high school, so I did whatever I saw on Instagram to the T, no matter if the volume was astronomical. But I know as an adult that I don't have to beat myself up with a ton of sets, a ton of volume, a ton of combination movements that look insane, knowing that I can just do simple basic lifts, a dumbbell Romanian deadlifts, a back squat, a shoulder press, and get insane results. I feel like it got so much easier because it became less complicated. And I hope that this video makes things less complicated for you too.